Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gulf Coast Poker Podcast. I'm Gene D, co-owner with Wild Bill Phillips, my partner in crime. He's also on the podcast too. And we have Ben Saxton, as always, with us every week. He's a poker writer and a GCP operative. Before we launch into our next guest, this is episode 21 of our podcast, and we're going to go ahead and let Bill plug the upcoming events we have. Bill?
Yeah, we're a little bit light on events right now with the summer coming up and Las Vegas in everybody's front view. We're all headed to Vegas at some point, I think, this summer, or most of us are. But in terms of GCP events, we might have something. It sounds like we will have something at the very end of July. I hate to be circumspect, but details will come out as soon as we have them. Just don't want to jinx it. We thought we were going to do something in early June, and it ended up not working out for us. So we're just going to wait till all the contracts are signed before we formally announce an event and give you the details. But keep your calendar open for the very end of July into the beginning of August. And of course, after that, we got another Pearl River in October, hopefully another Kashada, and a lot of things going on in the fall.
Good stuff. I think we got a few topics that we want to cover today. I think the first one, there was some kind of a issue with an MGM employee and some gambling. Do you guys know something about that?
Yeah, so I believe the president of the MGM Grand in Las Vegas was charged. I can't remember the details correctly if he's going to have face jail time or not. I think definitely a stiff fine for being aware that his client might have been an illegal bookmaker. And I believe they might have been taking bets in the sports book from that guy or not. And what's interesting about that to me, and I think it's worth discussing, is the casino's responsibility and the individual, in this case, responsibility to not take bets from bookmakers or bad sources. And I think that's a pretty high standard that they're holding people to. Obviously, we don't know the details about the event. Maybe these guys were working with one another, and he kind of got a slap on the wrist instead of really getting hit hard. But if not, how do you guys feel about that? Do you think that's a little bit of an unfair standard to hold casino executives to?
So I'll say this is not something I give a lot of thought about. I'm glad you sent this article our way. I think context definitely matters. Degree of gambling definitely matters. So to fill in a few more of those details, the ex-MGM executive is a guy named Scott Sabella. He was the former president of MGM Grand, and he was sentenced to a year of probation, so no jail time. And the amount of betting by this illegal bookmaker was reportedly in the realm of millions of dollars. So to me, I guess that that would be the case for a more severe punishment than if it's just a one-time thing. I don't know if casinos see it that way. I've certainly heard instances of zero tolerance policies on the part of casinos, a one and done situation. So I don't know. I'm not privy to the background details of whether the millions of dollars of wagers was what led to this somewhat harsh penalty or not. But I would imagine that it might be. What do y'all think?
Gene?
Yeah, I don't really, guys. I'm gonna let you guys handle this. I don't really have much thought on the subject. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's interesting for this poker podcast to kind of extrapolate and to look at it from the eye of poker, right? So what constitutes a person that needs to be responsible and not accepting bets or giving action to people that know they're bookmakers. Does that include poker room managers? Does that include people that are slightly above that, but are aware of all the players in the poker room? Because, let's be honest, there's bookies and bookmakers and all kinds of people playing poker and making bets and walking back and forth from poker rooms to sports books and just about every single casino. And like you said, Ben, if it's millions, and okay, maybe that's a different thing. Or is it just having the knowledge that they got these funds from illegal sources? I mean, that could really hurt poker if you really extrapolate it. If you really think about it, there's a lot of bookmakers putting a lot of people in action and playing poker. So I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. And I, like you, Ben, I assume that it's a large amount, and maybe there's more to the story that's there. But if not, I think it's kind of a scary threshold.
Okay, I see the parallel you're making now. I hadn't made that connection, but do you want to say a little bit more about that? I mean, we can all think of instances where there are, it's a sliding scale, right? There are people who, in the eyes of the poker community, are just outright scammers, cheaters. But in the eyes of the law, they may not have done anything illegal. So, yeah, that is interesting. Like I hadn't made that connection, but now that you mentioned it, and it's obviously it's a big issue in the community. Do you have thoughts about, like, from the operator's perspective, allowing those let's take a Howard Letterer, right? As just a very easy example, somebody who, in the eyes of the community, did some terrible things. Chris Ferguson, the whole Tilt poker scandal. Yeah, I mean, what is that? Are those the sorts of folks you have in mind?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly is even a more glaring example. And if you really think about it, it ranges from the guy that kind of takes bets on the side, all the way up to somebody like Howard Letterer, or somebody. I mean, you could even say that Texas is a gray area, and I think we might talk about some Texas clubs and stuff. But are the guys that own Texas clubs, when they go into Vegas, are they going to be held to that same standard? Or now casino people going to have to say, well, we can't take your action because we're a little worried about our own kind of involvement by tacitly giving you permission to gamble here? I don't know. It's a weird standard. It reminds me a lot of how the government empowered banks to kind of this is one of the things that happened with online poker with Black Friday. Is the government said, you either got to police these people and make sure they're not getting money from illicit sources, or we're going to fine you. So they basically made banks kind of have to be proactive and kind of enforce laws a little bit. And this is a little bit of a parallel, because it sounds like casino executives at a minimum can't take the action. But they're not going to enforce any law or do anything other than shut their doors to them. But I just kind of don't like it when these kind of things are thrown back on people. I don't know.
So, yeah, we will, as always, link to this article in the show notes for folks who want to read more about it. But I do agree with you, Bill. I think it's an issue that touches on a number of areas, not only in gambling, but in the poker world. So yeah, I appreciate you sending this one our way. I guess to stay with the theme of operators, let's talk about Texas poker for a moment. So
Sure.
The owner of the lodge, Doug Polk, attempted to open a second room in Texas. He was aiming to open a room in Farmers Branch, which apparently is in Northwest Dallas, and his bid failed. So he went in person, and both sides, the pro Cardroom and anti Cardroom folks, made their cases, and Polk made a very passionate case, and he was in the end stymied by a vote of 4-1. So I think that's notable just in terms of, Polk, and there's obviously been a lot of talk about Texas poker, and the Lodge has had quite a bit of success. But it also gets to this larger question, I think, of sort of the values connected to poker, the way that poker is seen in the eyes of the community, in this case, a fairly conservative community. So Polk is planning to continue attempting to open card rooms, not just in Dallas, but also around the state. But yeah, thoughts on this? I think we can take this in any number of directions, but I think it's a pretty notable development over the last couple of weeks.
So this was the city council. I know there's some smaller suburbs of the bigger cities that are voting are enacting local laws with local municipalities banning those card rooms.
This is the Farmers Branch City Council. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the both sides made their cases at a city council meeting. This was on May 7th. And the vote was one.
Yeah, I found it interesting when Polk was up there, and he's kind of took up arms for poker in general and talked about how some of the best people he knows are poker players. And I know we all know that to be true. We all have friends that play poker and have kind of the highest ethical outlook on it. And of course, there's the other side of it where there's definitely a lot of people in poker where are just the opposite. But we're all kind of painted with the same brush that we're on the bad side, even though there's a lot of integrity and really good people that play poker. And, just we all know that. But it is interesting in Texas that that's part of the fight that he's dealing with outside of Dallas, is this negative association with it. When the floodgates seem to be open in Texas, although it was interesting when I read that article, I kind of clicked around and I found another article that was talking about it was basically a legal opinion, and the guy made a very good case that poker in Texas is not legal at all, and there's a lot of laws and statutes that it seems to be in violation of. It's just nobody's kind of really prosecuting it or enacting it. And I think that article was written in 2022, and the suggestion in that article was that the hammer is going to be dropped soon. Well, we're 2 years later, and we got guys publicly talking to city councils and trying to get them to approve it. It's a weird thing. Is it legal? Is it not in Texas? Is the hammer ever going to drop? Or are we so far past the tipping point that it just is a part of Texas? I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, it definitely seems like things are the status quo is for operators to do what they do, right? To make their money, to expand if possible. That's clearly what Polk has been doing. And we can go back to at least 2017, right? I'm trying to remember when the card club model started, and I think it was around 2016, 2017. Does that sound right to y'all?
It does. It was definitely a few years before COVID.
Yeah, so I think that one thing we know about where poker games and where card clubs pop up is it's an extremely fragile ecosystem. And I think that the operators are gonna move on the assumption that it's legal and until they are told otherwise, or until the rooms are shut down. And the other thing that Polk spoke to that I don't follow very closely, but the legality and the process by which these card rooms are opened and approved. They vary from city to city within Texas, so yeah. He had been fairly diligent about, why Farmers Branch? He had his reasons for Farmers Branch in Dallas. And so I think that just the process for each card club in each city is going to be different. But I think this issue also connects to something that that you guys have spoken about before, which is which is just sort of the interests of competing states, right? Like it's sort of this yin and yang, push and pull. I think I was telling maybe you guys or somebody else. I was in Houston a couple weeks back and stopped in Lake Charles for the first time in I don't know how long, in a long time, to play poker I played the Horseshoe. And it was a Friday afternoon. I got there and there was one game going at like 3 o'clock in this 20 table card room. And it just reminded me of probably 15 years ago when Lake Charles, the action was just the Isle Capri. We're talking, I don't even know how many card tables, 50 card tables, most of which were 2-5, all full. And we've seen what Houston action and has done to West Louisiana. And so you have places like Lake Charles, places like the WinStar. And so there is this push and pull of just when the Texas action, if and when it dries up, it's probably going to move to somewhere else.
Yeah, that's fun. I hope to be in Lake Charles this weekend. Our friends at Southern Poker are having a tournament at the Horseshoe. In fact, I'm going to try and get over there for that and play. I think Gene might be able to get over there too. But like you're saying, in terms of Texas, it is weird. I mean, Oklahoma, Louisiana, they're all waiting with bated breath, hoping that these card rooms get shut down. Of course, the other side of the coin is there's also movement afoot to get legalized casinos in Texas. So even if they do shut down the card rooms, it would be only a matter of time before Texas gobbles all the business back up, poker wise, and actually it'd be even worse for the casinos in Oklahoma and Western Louisiana, because then you can do everything there. Like one of the advantages they still have is you can go play. You have to go to Louisiana play slots, but you'd be able to have poker and everything else in Texas, and it would be bad news for those kind of border casinos. But it was so, Gene, that real quick, I wanted to mention in that article I read on the legalities of stuff, there's one of these statutes or laws. Basically, if you are promoting, it even used that language, an event that enables an operator to make money off of gambling, there's some severe consequences for you. And I bring that up because we have a lot of people often ask us, well, why don't you guys do a tournament series in Texas? Why don't you do this? Why don't you get out there and, expand your brand? And, I'm a very little tentative. I don't want to run afoul of them. And, previously I thought maybe we could just promote stuff, but I'm even a little bit concerned about even doing that, just from reading the language of that particular statute that I read. So,
Exactly.
How do you feel, Gene?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We don't want to, not only get stuck promoting something, but promote a huge tournament like they're having right now, $1 million guarantee. And, the biggest day of the main event, they decide to bust in for a big, huge money grab. And, here it is, a big Gulf Coast poker event. And, it makes us big black eye because we had promoted the event, but not only that, the place got raided during our event, and all these people, they confiscated all this money and, probably took people to jail. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So, we'll, as always, be following along. Polk is not going to give up, just to repeat, and he's certainly a persistent individual. So we'll see what happens with this.
So he's going to another city.
His plan is to open multiple card rooms in multiple cities, from what I
Okay.
understand. And the interview that he gave, he did with Poker News, that was his intention. So he's not going to quit, and his plan is to keep expanding. So we
Good
will
deal.
see what happens.
All right.
Yeah. Why wouldn't he? Right? Like as long as he's making money hand over fist, like the lodge is. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 5 of them not too long from now.
Sure. Yeah. So to be continued. So let's quickly, there's been some impressive tournament scores by some notables in both the Gulf Coast poker scene and in the biggest name of them all. Let's just start there quickly. The one and only Chris Moneymaker shipped the first event over at the Triton, Montenegro. And so there was a 25K buy-in, 163 player field. Anyone who watches Triton will know that these are just the crushers. Everybody who's anybody is in these events. And so I, for one, absolutely love to see Moneymaker beat Isaac Haxton, Adrian Mateos, Lewis Spencer, Brian Kim, just a couple of the names at the final table. And so I think that's just sort of a nice storyline in the last few days. Chris Moneymaker getting this $903,000 score.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting to me that he was even playing that event. It's kind of a weird one. You said it's in Eastern Europe and it's a 25K buy-in. Like, how does he just? I don't know if he won his way in or there's a package or.
There's a very clear answer to this one, Bill, and
All right.
I wouldn't blame you for not knowing it. But the sort of the subheading for this title is the 25K GG Millions live final table. So is Moneymaker? Maybe I'm wrong here, but
He's America's
ACR
Cardroom.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
ACR.
I wonder if there's some connection here between the ACR putting their sponsored pros in, or if there's something with GG. But yeah, I don't know his intention beyond just being. I would imagine ACR is invested in him playing some of these higher buy-in tournaments.
Yeah, that would make sense because it's just knowing his results and other things. It's kind of weird just to see him pop up at this random high roller, and it's kind of weird, but happy for him. As live poker players like me and Gene. Ben, would you call yourself live or online? You would call yourself live?
Yeah,
I guess you're a live
I
poker player
barely
as well.
play online. I played a good bit of online before Black Friday, but I do not
Right.
play much. I would say I play basically no online these days.
I know, but some people would self-describe as online, even though they might have stopped after Black Friday as an online player versus a live player, or you are what you are now. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that people and players evolve. I think at one point I was way more of an online player than a live player, and now it's kind of flip-flop.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just good to see for live players who get a bad rap, including, I think a lot of main event and WSOP champions are kind of discredited a little bit by online players. And, him doing that certainly proves that there's more to live players than maybe some of these online players think.
Yeah, well, last year in London, he got 5th place at the Triton Poker Series. That was in London for over 2 million. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I recalled him playing a Triton. I didn't realize that
2
it was
million.
London. Yeah.
And he got 5th place and got 2 million. Wow.
What was the buy-in on that?
That was a 250K buy-in.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Brent Kenny won it. He won close, a little south of 7 million.
Yeah, that's bonkers. Yeah. So speaking of this online and live dichotomy and players that don't get respect, I saw a little bit of Phil Hellmuth. He was on a podcast, I think a non-poker podcast, but anyway, in his clip, he was talking about how all these online kind of crushers or high roller crushers give him a lot of grief for not buying into 100Ks or 50Ks or traveling overseas to do it. and he once again brought up the fact that most of them might only have 5% of themselves. And he's like, yeah, they're putting up 5K out of 100K. And I put up all my own buy-ins, and I don't want to go buy in for 100K when, all these guys barely have any pieces of themselves. And it was stuff we've all heard and thought, but it was nice to see that kind of like somebody, putting it out there, because there is a difference, right? Like I do feel like a lot of these, this clique of players that play these super high rollers, they all have pieces of one another. They all sell so much action. It's kind of illusory, these lifetime earnings when, guys might have won 20 million, but how much do they have of themselves? Is it 5%? Is it 1%? Have they only won a million playing those things? You just don't know.
All right.
Yeah, and I think it just seems especially problematic in such small player fields where there's this like incestuous dynamic between players who have pieces or who are backing each other and at the same tables. But you could say that about the tournament poker scene in general, just because of how little transparency there is. And this is a point that's often made. We can look up Chris Moneymaker's Hendon Mob, and it gives such a partial picture of how profitable he actually is, because we don't know if ACR is staking him, if he's selling pieces to his fans. We just don't know. And I think that's it's just one of the things to be aware of as somebody who is interested in shot taking tournaments is results are not always what they seem.
Yeah. Right. Even at the lower levels, people also want to put asterisks on guys. What is their profitability? How many bullets do they fire? Somebody might fire 20 bullets into an event, every single event that he plays. So what is the value of his Hendon Mob if it's undermined by 10x or 20x more tournaments, if you factor in each buy-in as a tournament versus somebody else that fires only a bullet here or there, which is interesting because that's probably a good segue to the I believe is the final topic. We're going to talk about Cherokee results a little bit.
Well, we have one more. We have the minions, if we want
the minions,
mention that. So let's just quickly talk about you want to talk about Maurice real quickly?
Yeah, congratulations to the players in Cherokee, a lot of the usual suspects, including Maurice Hawkins, who won his 16th WSOP circuit ring, and I believe that ties him with Ari Engel for first all time. I think Dan Lowry is just behind them with 15, and Dan just had a big score to win his 15th. Maurice won a huge amount of money. Was it 250,000 or 240,000, something like that. Also there, or also to win tournaments recently, I believe Cody Stanford beat Levi Carden heads up in the high roller around the same time. I think Cal Cartwright has recently won a tournament, another high roller, 1100 buy-in. Bonnie Whitesoul just won an event in Lake Charles and recently won a ladies event on a circuit event. Her husband, Lonnie, won an event. I believe he was heads up against Alan Meinzenheimer. No, he wasn't quite heads up with Alan Meinzenheimer, but Alan Meinzenheimer, who's from Shreveport also, and Lonnie plays in the Shreveport casinos a lot. He's from Texarkana. I think he was top 5, but that was at a WPT event, maybe in Choctaw. So people are just snapping off tournaments left and right. Everybody. I was doing an update on the site today and thinking about, man, there's a tight race for a lot of these GCP awards that we're going to have at PokerGraw, and the cream is rising again to the top.
Yeah. Well, you can't forget Higgy.
Right.
Who came in second.
Right.
To Maurice. Heads up. I'd love to watch that heads up match. Kind of felt Poker could have covered it a little bit more aggressively, but I might be a little biased, but yeah, Matt, definitely them two heads up would have been a nice watch. And then forget to also mention the foot race. They've been ribbing each other for years. Levi Carden and Maurice. They actually went outside the Cherokee Casino and had a foot race. I'm thinking there had to be some action on it, but Levi looked like he took him down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kill any of Levi's action, but anybody that knows what he did when he was in college, I'm surprised people are betting against him in terms of like a foot race. But whatever. Levi, I think if y'all don't know, yeah, I guess I might be killing his action a little bit, but he was a receiver at North Dakota State. And what's the name of that Eagles quarterback for Nick Foles? Anyway, big time quarterback that played in the NFL for a while. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name, but Levi played with them, and North Dakota State's won national championships at their levels, left and right. So like you're playing receiver there, you got to be pretty quick, pretty fast. I don't think most people that Levi walks into a card room are going to be able to beat him in a foot race. But good on Maurice for trying. I think Levi won by quite a bit though. So last topic is the Minions. Pretty excited to see the founder of the Minions, Will Souther, put out an email saying that the Minions are back on this year. He also saw him in person at the Gladiator, where he cashed that a couple of weeks ago. And pretty pumped that we're doing this again. And, GCP, we're always happy to help and do whatever we can to raise awareness for it and get investors and get some players that can't afford to play in the WSOP main event on their own to get some action and get some good players in there. And I know the Minions have not had a good showing the last two times. I think in the last 2 years, only one player cashed. I'm kind of partial to that player, but out of that big group of no cashers, we gotta represent this year if we're going to keep the Minions going. So whoever is selected, they're going to carry a heavy weight because I think it's really important for this really cool thing in poker to continue to get some results for the investors. You guys have any thoughts on the Minions, or who you'd like to see or not see?
Dang, I'm kind of blanking on the last couple of years, the actual players who they were.
Alec Wilson, I believe, was the last Minion standing last year. Mark Davis has played it for a couple of years. I think 2 years ago, Jamie Bertuzio played it. We had John Creston went to day 3 this past year. I think last minute was Chuck Brady got in. We sold a lot of action at the very end, and Monkey's incredible with that and getting people in and people getting on airplanes and getting into the main event. But anyway, I'm hopeful. There's a lot of really good players in the region. I feel like we've underperformed, not necessarily because players have played badly or they weren't the right choice, but you know how it goes. It's a tournament. You got 10 buy-ins and you can run really bad over 10 buy-ins and not have done anything wrong. And that's essentially what has happened in my mind.
Right.
Mark Davis has won millions. He's won a WPT, got heads up against the GOAT of the GOATs at the WPT, Darren Elias, and beat him. So, it
happened to any of us.
Right. And I think there's been our fair share of bad beats and kind of bad luck in the players that have been in there. And, sometimes that means you're due for a crazy amount of run good. And how great would it be to get 4 or 5 people get on a heater during this year's main event? That'd be amazing. Hopefully we can do something like that.
Yeah.
Ben, is there anybody you would like to see to be a Minion that hasn't been a Minion? Or
I mean, I can think of a lot of people. I would say, rather than naming anybody specifically, that I'm just happy to see the Minions will most likely be back. In my experience, it's a really wonderful example of the positive side of the Gulf Coast community kind of coming together and having this shared rooting interests. I agree with you. Will's been really great at marshaling those funds and organizing, and it's something that's been going on for over 10 years now. Is that right? It's about 10 years or so. When was the first time you played?
Gotta be.
Right?
It's gotta be 10 years.
2013.
What do you think, Gene?
2012?
Yeah, I think I played the third year that they had it, if I remember right.
Yeah. I think the very first year it was like Kai Landry, BJ McBrayer, Josh Reichard.
I think Kenny was in there.
Kenny was a minion, I think, one time.
So.
And Josh Reichard, I think I'm mispronouncing his last name, but he's also up there for the maybe he's got 15 WSOP circuit rings too. So it's not like there's been any dearth of talent in terms of players that have been minions in the past. And obviously BJ is a great player and he was a minion, and a lot of people have gone on to great success after being a minion.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
Well, I'm pumped about it. I'm hopeful to lend a hand to Monkey as needed. And, I think, Gene, I'm thinking about being out there during the main event. You also thinking about that?
Yeah, we can. I'll go out there at the same time you are.
Yeah. And Ben, I know you're thinking about taking this summer off. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll mostly be roaming the green hills of Vermont with family. Yeah, so that's the game plan. But
Cool.
Definitely looking forward to getting back out to the WSOP sometime soon.
Cool. All right. I'm going to introduce our guest. We actually pre-recorded this. This is Jeff Boski, and Jeff is a player who's got a pretty decent following as a vlogger and as a personality around poker. I think he's sponsored by ACR. And Jeff won our mystery ticket event that we did at MGM Grand last summer to kick off the summer. And we had Jeff come on and talk about it a little bit. Unfortunately, we won't be back at MGM Grand this summer, possibly in the fall or the winter. We're talking to them. There's also some other casinos in Vegas that we're discussing things with, maybe a winter event. So we'll see what's going on. It just didn't work out for us with MGM, and for all those people that are planning on coming, our apologies to you. Hopefully we'll have a Vegas opportunity for you soon to play with us. And we want to thank Jeff for coming on and talking. It's a really enjoyable podcast.
Jeff, welcome to the podcast. How things going?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good deal, man. Well, you're going to get the first question we're going to ask is the same question that we ask all our guests, is how did you wind up getting into the game of poker and this subculture that we all found ourselves in? Give us some background about your poker beginnings.
Well, yeah, it's crazy to say that over 20 years ago, I started playing in home games with friends before I was even 21, where I could go to the casino. And pretty much the standard story. Just got started online, small stakes, Moneymaker boom happened, and just became addicted, for lack of a better word.
So was Moneymaker your first exposure to poker? Did you maybe play some home games when you're little, like with friends, penny games, or family, or anything like that? Or
it was right around that time. Just getting out of high school, starting college. I graduated in 2001. Moneymaker won in 2003, and yeah, just a great game. I kind of transitioned from the Magic the Gathering world of gaming, and got out of that. Got enrolled in the University of Michigan, and a lot of my time was just dedicated to working and going to college. But whatever free time I had, I used to play poker, and I really enjoyed the game. And if you can win and enjoy the game, that's the double dip right there. That's what you want.
Did any of your college friends continue on the same trajectory as you, or did you kind of recognize that it was just the game was a little bit different for them?
Yeah, most of my friends, none of them became professional poker players, although our weekly home games were pretty epic. Small stakes and it, 5, 10 cent blinds. And we didn't even have chips when we first started. We just used coins as chips, which really makes sense because you bet a dime, that's 10 cents. That's the chip. You got a bag of coins to take home if you're the big winner. Take it to the coin star or the bank, and there's your winnings.
So you pretty quickly transitioned to online, right? From that, and you were doing online mostly while you're at Michigan, and then
Yeah, I was playing on Party Poker back around 2001, I think. Just four cash game tables, 10 cent, 25 cent, and I was making around $100 a day, and I thought that was awesome. If I could make 12, 10 to $15 an hour chilling at home with my friends, playing online, in addition to a normal job in college. I mean, don't really have much time to do anything else, but I really enjoyed the blend of different activities.
did classes take a backseat to the poker? Did you find yourself saying, "Well, I could go to class, or I could stick around and play this game. It's pretty good right now."
Somewhat. I think overall, my biggest detriment, I was going for business administration, and the University of Michigan was the only college in Michigan that required calculus for your business degree. And for some reason, I just did very poorly in calculus, and I failed it 3 times, and that was it. And I just dropped out, quit my job, and played poker for a living. It was a big, big leap, which I would not recommend anyone do. And I've been very fortunate to still be in the game 20 years later and never gone completely broke.
So you lived at home for a little bit, and then decided to move out to Vegas. Is that the next step in your path? Or
Yeah,
what?
I got I got an apartment when I was 19 and with my friend, and I stayed roommates with him until I was, I think, 24. And that's when I had already quit my job and dropped out of college for a few years and said, if I'm going to make it at poker, I can't be flying to Vegas to play all these small tournaments. It's not feasible with hotel and travel and food. I had a friend that lived in Vegas who was a dealer who had an empty room, and he said I could rent it for 600 a month. So I said, all right, let's just put everything in the U-Haul, drive 2,000 miles from Michigan, and gamble. Had about 10 grand to my name. I do not advise doing this. It's a big gamble, and but until you put yourself to the test, you don't really know what's going to happen. And I made it.
Wow, man, that's a great story.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
What was your biggest online cash in the tech? Can you remember?
Yeah, luckily, as soon as I moved to Vegas, I did very well on Poker Stars. You could see like the Shark Scope graph in the year 2009. Yeah, I moved to Vegas in 2008, and then in 2009, I was one of the biggest winners in Poker Stars online tournaments. I had $100,000 week right around my birthday, won the tournament leaderboard, and yeah, that was the bankroll boost I needed to not be backed anymore and just be on my own. So I did get a backer to handle the swings when I did move to Vegas because 10K is just not enough. It's just not. You need way more buy-ins than that to play, $500,000 live tournaments and play, 30, $50 tournaments online. You're just more likely to go to zero than not.
Right.
Right.
Yep. They just curious question. They handed mom your last name Slazinski. Did you
Correct.
change it?
No, no, Boski's just my nickname from high school. It's kind of
Oh,
stuck, and just people just call me Boski. So
Boski sounds your nickname. All right.
I think it works because
Yeah.
my last name is tough for a lot of people to pronounce, and I think everybody should have a nickname as long as you don't nickname yourself. You kind of have to earn it through your group of friends. It's like a sign of recognition almost. And if someone says, "Oh, Jeff, go meet up Jeff at the steakhouse," you'd be like, "Jeff who?" Go meet Boski at the steakhouse. Oh, we're going to eat with Boski. Okay, I know who that is. It's just
Wow.
easy.
Where'd the nickname come from?
It's a conglomeration of like a bunch of random things that all kind of, how can I say this? The Big Lebowski came out right around this time, like junior, senior year of high school. Ludacris's song "Throw Them Bows" was also popular slightly after this when we were going to Canadian nightclubs, and um, the WWF wrestler Val Venus was known as the Big Val Boski, and these all just kind of came together at the right time where people started calling me Boski because I was a fan of all these things.
Oh, that's cool. That's
I love that. Yeah, that's the sort of nickname you truly earned that one, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, it works. And the weirdest part is this is the kind of like before the internet really existed. So you couldn't just like Google shit all the time. But it wasn't until a few years ago that my mom actually Googled what Boski means, and it's Polish for godlike or divine, which there's no way my friends would like call me that. It'd be something derogatory. It wouldn't be like complimentary. So for it to translate, and I am like 100% Polish, it just meant to be.
Myself, yeah, my family's Polish. My grandparents came over when Hitler was taking over Europe. My grandparents went there and they traced our lineage back to Serbia, but at that time that was still they couldn't travel into that country at that time years ago. But yeah, my family comes from that same region.
Yeah, tough times, but made it out of there alive. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I mean, I'm looking at your Hendon Mob. You look like you're a world traveler, also, man. You're not just the Las Vegas grinder here. I mean, you're in all kind of countries.
That's just
Hanoi.
pretty recent.
Yeah.
I really hate traveling, so I was lucky enough to win $200,000 packages on ACR with the Team Pro competition last year, and that's how I was able to go to Vietnam and Cyprus to play in the Triton high rollers on like 25Ks and stuff.
So I wanted to ask you that well, also I'll clue in the audience too. So usually our guests have like a really obvious connection to the South or our footprint, our ever expanding footprint. Jeff won our mystery tournament at MGM last summer, our mystery ticket tournament. And was that part of one of your promotions? Am I remembering correctly that win helped propel you to win like a package? Is that right?
That was the third package that ACR offered to two team pros. It was your best 5 scores of the summer of all live tournaments in terms of multiplier of buy-in. So $1,000 buy-in, you win 50 grand. That's a 50x. So that's how you just play whatever as long as it's $500. And oddly enough, at the end, it was me and Bet on Drew, fellow team pro, that were 1 and 2 going to the last few days. And Drew, not to take anything away from Drew, but by a small miracle, he final tabled the Flip and Go event at the World Series of Poker. I fired 8 bullets into it, and he fired 3, and he got in on his 3rd bullet, and I didn't get in at all. And he ended up winning the Triton package to London, which would have allowed me to win 3 packages in a row, which Team Pro is not very happy when I just win every single one, but just wasn't meant to be. But yeah, that win almost propelled me to my 3rd Triton package.
All right, so it was close. I hope I didn't bring up a sore spot because you were so close and didn't quite get there. But
oh no, I'll never forget it. It was the most brutal summer ever. Just not every day grinding ARIA, MGM, WSOP, win, coordinating the schedules, max late regging, timing everything, firing max bullets. Even with that 50K win, I still had a losing summer, just firing. But definitely better than not winning 50K in that sick trophy.
Ben, did you happen to see the trophy that he's talking about that he won? The cool thing about it, I think only for our event and for their main event, was it actually lit up and glows, and it was a little bit bigger than the other events that MGM had provided a trophy for. And also, Ben, if you could do something on the show notes, maybe link to the blog that or the vlog that Jeff did afterwards. I enjoyed that, his recap of the mystery ticket last year, his victory.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the Hendon Mob photo right now, and so I'll link to the vlog. That is one that I saw, and I've seen a number of them, Jeff. Which, if I could just ask a question related to that, and I don't know if this connects or not with the Big Lebowski, but you have a really great kind of wry, understated sense of humor. It comes through, but it's not in your face. And I'm wondering if that is intentional, if that's just like a natural extension of your personality, or if you could just speak a little bit about yeah, how you got into the vlogging side, because it is a chance for you to kind of put your personality and your creativity on display.
Yeah, you're not the first person to say that. It's natural. There's no way I could be anybody else but myself when it comes to streaming on Twitch or putting out YouTube videos. It would just be too tiresome to be fake. I know starting off, if you watch some of my first vlogs, I'm even like slower in talking and inflection and even more monotone, which I've kind of learned to get better at, but still be genuine to myself and not try to be too over the top to get the views, even though I know that works. People like over the top reactions and just people screaming in the microphone and shit. I just can't do that. And the people that watch the videos, that they appreciate the subtle humor, or they call it dry humor or whatever, a little sarcasm or just understated bitterness towards my opponents, which other people wouldn't do, you know. But I just got to keep it real. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you do, it seems like you really like it. So if I can provide entertainment to others, you know, that's something good I do for the community.
What was the impetus to get into vlogging? I saw that you were inspired by Andrew Nemi and some of those guys initially. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was the same time as Nemi and Brad. Um, I didn't even know it was a thing until someone told me about it, and I was sorry. I was I just got a GoPro for my birthday, and I take my dogs to the park every day, and I would videotape like them playing with other dogs and when jumping, and I just found it interesting how with the simple app on your phone, iMovie, you can do so much so easily to a video. You know, fast forward, slow motion, add some music, cut it up. Um, and so I would make dog park videos and send them to my mom just to show her, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. Look, we're having fun. She really appreciated it. And maybe it was her that said, you know, why don't you do this for poker? And I was like, well, that is a thing, but I don't think I really want my life out there like that. I'm pretty introverted, pretty private person. Um, but I said, you know, I'll put them on YouTube and we'll see what happens. So you can see what it's like to play a poker tournament because people really don't understand what the truth is behind how much you lose playing live. And so I documented like every tournament I played for years. And I just, you know, you usually lose, but I started off on a sick heater. Like I just final table every event I played. It was unbelievable. I mean, they weren't, you know, huge buy-in events, $200 to $1,000, but I would just get 10K scores left and right. And people would say, "Oh, show the ones you lost." I'm like, I never lose. It's incredible. I just go deep in everything. And that's like my first 10 vlogs or I just cash. It's crazy. Um, Bunch at the Wynn, Bellagio, Venetian. And yeah, that just started off on a great first step. So I just went with it and continued. And up until just recently is when I stopped filming every single video, every single live tournament I ever play because the editing is just so tedious. Even though I have an editor now, it just takes so long. There's so much effort for to see me lose in 3 hours. I don't think people want to see that anymore.
So you were interviewed by Sporting News by a guy that was actually a guest on this podcast, Stephen No. I guess he was a former cash game player in Harrah's, New Orleans. So I did a lot of reading of that interview. I don't know if you remember that from a year ago, but he talked about when you first moved to Vegas, not too long after getting there, maybe you were down to your last $1,000, or you had to step back and go down and play like really small stakes and kind of grind your way all the way back. Is that the worst downswing you've been in? And can you speak about some downswings that you've endured?
Yeah. Um, yeah, there was that one. That's probably the worst. I remember specifically playing $6 turbos, sit and goes, and I was making $1 per sit and go. So I'd play 10 sit and goes an hour. So that was $10 an hour. And that was a pretty consistent way to rebuild a bankroll. But then, bills, life expenses, it's tough to get out of the hole. But I've never like borrowed money or been in debt. I have been down pretty bad to the point where I sold like physical silver and gold I had just to get back in the game, you know. Um, but at some point, I'll tell you about the worst downswing I ever had. It was like a consistent $1,000 a day online. I'd just lose playing tournaments, just about grind all night, lose a grand, grind all night, lose a grand. And this happened for like months on end. I'm like, then I had a revelation. I was like, wow, I could just not play and not lose a grand. That sounds, whoa, hold on. I could get a real job and make $10, $15 an hour guaranteed. This sounds fucking great compared to just the consistent losing. And that's the reality of tournaments that you don't really see. You see all the winners' photos, you see all the people having a great time, celebrating. But that's not the reality. The reality is just losing consistently for long, long periods of time before you get that lucky score, if you ever get that lucky score. So that's why I don't really recommend tournaments. I mean, cash games are more consistent, but it's still just a brutal way to make a tough living. And if you're not mentally prepared for just the extreme lows and extreme highs, it can really mess with your brain.
So it sounds like you were that close to maybe quitting, but you didn't. What was the difference?
Yeah, I was looking for jobs at I had an in at a mattress store where I could work 10 hours a day and try to sell mattresses to people. I did have a background in sales, so I thought that would be a pretty good deal. So I was about to pull the trigger on that. I even at it, I was around 30 years old at this point, maybe a little older. And I even looked into becoming a police officer. I did a ride along, I did all the research. I was getting ready for the physical exams. But it would have been pretty tough just joining as a rookie that old. But I really wanted to do something good for the community and just do something other than poker. I mean, I was so jaded and so scarred emotionally and financially from the losses. I just wanted, to try something else. And I think the idea of the vlog, reinvigorated my passion for the game, and the heater of winning live tournament after live tournament definitely gives you some momentum. And then 1 year after I started the vlog, the guy Ricardo that works from ACR hit me up and said, "Hey, if you tweet out that we're doing a $500 tournament, we'll give you a ticket to it." And I didn't really play on ACR, and I did that, and I just said, "Hey, who are your team pros?" And they said, "We don't have any team pros." I said, "Well, you're an online poker site. You should have some team pros. I could be a team pro." And he's like, "All right, let's do that." And so we made a deal, and I've been a ACR pro for 6.5 years now.
Wow.
Wow. Way to go, man. Talk about sales. You sold yourself right there.
Yeah, but that was like a big thing that I learned, which I still apply to this day, is never be afraid to ask for what you want.
All I can say is no.
In any circumstance, especially like retail, coupons, whatever you're buying, anything, is there any discounts available, local discounts? You get an oil change, any coupons on the internet? Is there a mailer? Just ask. You can save $20 like that.
Yeah.
Worst thing they can do is say no.
Smart. So I see a few PLO tournaments in here. Do you play any mixed games?
No, just PLO.
Okay.
Occasionally. I'm not great, but I have a very good understanding of the starting hand strength requirements and general idea how to play post flop. So I almost final table the World Series of Poker PLO event. I got 10th, and Actually, it's funny. It was just mentioned when I was in Costa Rica a few weeks ago in the Cage 5K event that I've never final tabled a World Series of Poker event, even though I play like almost every day for 18 years straight. It's pretty unlucky, I guess you could say, but you know, it's all variance.
Yeah.
Big fields.
This summer. It'll happen this summer, hopefully.
Hell yeah, I'm ready, baby.
Do you still put in the same amount of volume in terms of like the tournaments that you did when you started, or you scaled down a little bit?
Yeah, I'm one of the hardest grinders there is, pretty much playing every day, and that's what kind of allowed me to win the ACR Triton competitions. There was like multi parts to it, social media, engagement, views, online poker results, live tournaments for the World Series, and just just working hard and putting in that time to win the competition. It just seemed like a no-brainer. Like, how could I not give it my all for a 100K package opportunity?
So I think I read that you have maybe 5 or 6 different kind of groups that you work for or been sponsored by in terms of poker. What are some of the weirder ones that you've kind of had a relationship with?
Well, mainly I just affiliated with ACR. They're my main sponsor, but um, Raise Your Edge training site. I've been with them for probably 5 years or so. Ben CB is a great player. He streams on Twitch. He has 100K subs on YouTube. So check out Raise Your Edge. Use my promo codes if you're going to sign up, save some money. And other affiliates, not super involved with, just stuff I put on like the Twitch stream, products that I like, counterfeit clothing. I kind of an affiliate for the Peppermint Hippo strip club in Las Vegas, Viva Oils CBD company. But I'm not making any money off any of that. It's just a cool thing to have, I guess.
Products you like?
Yeah, strippers, CBDs, poker.
It makes sense. Makes sense. I've also noticed on your blogs that you talk quite a bit about eating out and a lot of kind of the food options in Vegas and stuff. Do you consider yourself a bit of a foodie, or is that kind of a side passion?
Yeah, I really enjoy high quality food. It's expensive, especially in Vegas, but life's all about experiences, and I'm willing to pay for high quality food, whether I'm shopping at Sprouts, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. I think it's worth it. I think it's a good investment for your health, your body, and your mind. Kind of pays for itself. But yeah, I go to steakhouses all the time when friends come into town or I'm playing at the casino. I'm willing to splurge on that and massages, like a weekly massage from my masseuse. I think that's very important. It is costly, but like same thing with the food. I think it kind of pays for itself with your body and mindset.
What's your favorite steakhouse in Vegas?
I mean, I want to say like John George's at Aria, but SW at the Wynn's good too. They're so expensive. It's kind of ridiculous. I've been trying to go to more off-strip steakhouses. I think I'm gonna go to Echo and Rig. Um, Carver Steak is also good. There's like got to be over 100 steakhouses. There's so many to choose from. It's really hard to go wrong. It's all great stuff. I just some places I don't like the environment. Like everybody raves about Herbs and Rye, but the last couple times I go there, it's just so loud. It's just like jarring. It's like disturbing. I just want to relax and have a normal conversation and not be yelling. I don't know, that's just me. Maybe I'm just getting old.
I think we're all getting a little bit older. I also enjoy being able to hear the people I'm meeting with. It seems like definitely like the minimum when I go out to eat with somebody. I like to be able to hear them. But I guess when we were younger, we didn't notice it much or had no problem yelling at one another across the table. So,
Yeah.
what's your favorite spot to go out for drinks after a tournament bust out or after snapping off a tournament in Vegas? For all of us that are going to descend on Vegas this summer, that's the reason
Hmm.
I'm asking these questions.
Depends what time if it's late night, there's not too many options. I think Mushashi, it's called Mushashi in Chinatown. It's like Benihana. It's open real late nights. You can get, teppanyaki, real fatty, disgusting food, but tastes great. Sushi places, Sushi Kami, super expensive, but one of the best meals you'll ever have if you really like raw fish and lobster and steak and stuff. Omakase menus, 350 a person plus tax and tips. So it is pricey, but it's just the best of everything. Truffles, foie gras. Mm. I don't drink. I haven't drank in like 4 or 5 years. I just smoke. But after busting a tournament, I just want to go home usually and just um, post-tournament tilt is one thing I've yet to shake. I can't detach myself and not be mad. You know, I can't. I know you're supposed to be like, "Oh, good game, nice hand, good luck, guys." But I can't like genuinely say that. My competitive nature is just like, you don't deserve those chips. I hope all bad things in life happen to you after sucking out on me. Hey, good game, you know.
I think we all have that in us.
But here's something I played um last week or 2 weeks ago at the Win. I max late reg the 600, so if I boss, they still have a 200 turbo till 9 p.m. I could play. I figured that's real. I'm all about efficiency. I thought that would be real efficient. Hopefully, I just bag up in the 600. But I realized my mindset was not good. And two things I have to do in the future, especially during the World Series, that I was really lacking in this tournament and recently is when you sit down at your table, don't be silent. Don't just sit there. Don't just sit down and don't talk to anybody. As soon as you sit down, look around, say, "Hey, how's it going?" Make some comment about their shirt, their chips, anything. Break the ice. I think that's so important. Even if you really don't want to, you got 5 blinds in your stack, you just want to lose and go home. You'll be surprised how much better you're going to do if you just enjoy the moment, even if you're miserable. And number two is pay attention. Seems obvious, right? I, I was just in misreg mode. Fold, pick up the phone. Fold, pick up the phone. Scroll Twitter, Instagram. Don't pay attention to the table. I don't even want to fucking be here. And that's just going to cause you to lose. So those are my top 2 tips for getting better at live poker: being present and paying attention, and forcing small talk because it will make a big difference in your experience. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about it. You said that you're an introvert, and small talk is sometimes a little bit like you said, you got to force yourself maybe to engage in it. But also with the nature of your profile, are you uncomfortable when a lot of people might recognize you now, and you do have to engage in these conversations with people either at the table or near it, or does it not bother you?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is kind of awkward, but I think it's kind of awkward for others to even mention it too, to break the ice. So I'm always welcoming when they do say, "Hey, I liked your last video," or "Hey, that was funny that one time when you did this." So it's ultimately it's just a great compliment to be recognized or have people on break say, "Hey," the most common thing, you can see them coming a mile away, they make eye contact, they reach out the hand, they say, "Hey, Boski, love the vlogs." And you're like, "Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoy." Um, and to a higher degree, like think about Brad Owen or Andrew Nemi. They got fucking meetup games where 100 people go there just to play with them, basically. Like, what a great compliment. I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you not get too like self-centered or conceited, but be grateful at the same time? I always ask Brad, like I'm pretty good friends with Brad. I'm like, doesn't that kind of get weird? And he's like, "Nah, man, it's just what it is. It's a meetup game. We're all there to have a good time, They want to take my money, I want to take theirs. If they want to give me some presents, they want to take a selfie, I'll always say yes, and I do the same thing.
Shit, Brad's fighting in Florida right now, huh?
Fighting.
Yeah, well, he's still in the big tournament.
Oh yeah, day 3 of
Yeah,
the
day three
3500.
WPT. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to tell him actually on his Instagram story. It seems like he always does better when he does the Instagram story of the progress, like a mini vlog of it. So hopefully he keeps that up. I'm sure he'll keep it up for this event.
Yeah.
So, is is Brad maybe a mentor, one of your peers that you get a lot of feedback from? Who are some influences in your life, poker and vlogging, that you get the most out of that relationship?
Um, I mean, I've kind of backed off of vlogging for the last couple of years, not really caring too much, but still wanting to put stuff out there to help like promote ACR and just as a fun like side hobby. Because like YouTube doesn't really pay much for views unless you got, hundreds of thousands of views every video. Like it's not going to pay the bills really. It's just a fun side hobby. Um, but I don't really watch too many vlogs. It's kind of I don't know, it's lost that luster, I guess. But winning a tournament and vlogging it, that's fun. That's fun. Those are the ones you look forward to. Because you get to relive it compared to reliving, how you busted or, you know, and the comments are always nicer when you do well. They're results oriented, like, oh, night ace king versus queens. Glad you won that flip. If I lose, you're like ace king. What do you think he had? Queens plus. So you got to kind of deal with that, but just realize 99% of the comments are positive and appreciate those. Don't let the 1% trolls get down on you, even though human nature, those will stick out.
I see you got a link on your site to adopt a boxer. You got a boxer? You into that volunteer place?
Yeah. I've worked a lot with Adopt a Boxer Rescue. They're located in the New York area. I did get two boxers from Las Vegas Boxer Rescue, but they've passed on. And now I hang out with my neighbor's dog. She has two labs that I'm very close with, and I work with Henderson Animal Shelter now, which is just outside of Las Vegas. Help to promote what they have on their inventory and just raise awareness for people to go to shelters, go to rescues before they go to the
Puppy
pet
mills.
stores
Yep.
because those are, there's too many dogs and not enough houses, and those numbers don't add up to something good. So if you can adopt from a shelter or rescue, you're really saving a life.
All righty.
What are your
Guys,
plans this summer?
What's that?
I said, what are your plans this summer? You gonna attack WSOP every day? You got a schedule for some other competitions that you're kind of looking at already?
We don't have the details if there's going to be a Triton competition for the summer just yet, but if there is, I'll do my best to win it. Um, I think I always tell myself to play less and enjoy the friends that are in town that I never get to see all year, more. But it's tough with tournaments when you don't really know when you're going to bust or when you're going to make a day two to make plans. So it's kind of spur of the moment. Maybe I should get some group chats going. But yeah, just play less and always play when I'm mentally excited to play, not just, oh, gotta go play the 600 at the Win. Another day on the grind. If you're not feeling it, like why waste the money? Why waste the time? You just got to be honest with yourself. There's been many times when I'm driving to the casino and I just want to turn around, but I'm like, yeah, I'm already halfway there. Might as well go.
Is there a correlation between negative results when you feel that way going to the casino? Because personally, I've noticed that when I really don't want to go and I recognize that on the drive there, I tend not to do as well as like when I'm excited and eager to get there.
Yeah, it really makes sense. Like I'd rather bet on a tourist that is just here for two events than a reg that's playing 30 events because it's just the same shit compared to someone who's genuinely excited and is going to be paying more attention and just be more in the moment. Um, yeah, it's big mental game. Got to get your mind right, and working out, eating healthy. It really does help. I mean, it's just science.
I know one of the things Ben does to put in volume is he'll make some bets to make sure he does enough hours at the casino and stuff like that. Have you ever done anything like that to kind of motivate you on the side in terms of obviously the competitions kind of do that, but do you make any prop bets?
I got nothing specifically for that. The closest thing to that was I wanted to do like a cash game challenge for my vlog, and I did the bank Rolex challenge where I'd have to turn $10,000 into a $13,000 Rolex just by playing cash games. And I made 16 vlogs documenting that experience from day one. 16, almost 16 different properties or home games. Went to Texas, and I accomplished that goal. And I think that was a good challenge. I definitely ran well too, because if you have big losing sessions, that really sets you back. And I was lucky enough to limit my losses on the few losing sessions I had, and it all worked out. Got a Rolex that I earned, and I'll remember how I won it.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. Well,
Then, any more questions?
yeah, we're coming up on 45 minutes. Y'all have any other questions?
I'll just ask one more, sort of piggybacking off what we've been talking about, and just sort of balancing the grind and putting in hours with it, with being in the moment and being excited when you get to the casino. So like at the beginning of this conversation, Jeff, you mentioned if you can win and enjoy the game, that's the dream. So yeah, are you still enjoying it the same as when you get first started 20 years ago? Or just another way to ask that is like how has your relationship to poker changed over the years, and like where are you with that process now?
Okay, well, since I joined ACR a little over 6 years ago, they think they wanted me to either stream on Twitch a bit to promote and just be more interactive with the community, which I've done for probably 5 years. And I think Twitch has kind of reignited my interest and desire in the game, because you can be there with others that are rooting you on and interacting. And it's just more exciting. I can make Twitch highlights to put on my YouTube channel. And once again, all the big wins are documented, so I can relive those, and it feels good. So I think Twitch is the main thing that's really got me reinvigorated about the game as of now. And anything that just breaks the monotony of driving to the casino and trying to min cash or final table, anything that can really get you going, makes a big difference.
And I just want to make sure if there's anything that you want to promote or mention or anything, give you the chance to do so right now. If there's anything specifically coming up.
Yeah, no, I pretty much just grind on ACR most days. I like playing at home. It's just way more efficient than live. I mean, the amount, it's probably tenfold more efficient, at least. I mean, I could play 4,000 hands, play 40, 50 tournaments online. I could play live. Lucky if I play 100 hands in one tournament. Combine registration lines, parking fees, food. Um, it just it's just so inefficient. I wish there was a better way where live would get more action. I even talked indirectly to WSOP about a better way to re-enter tournaments, where they just have an iPad at the table. You got your player's card, you swipe it, boom, you don't even have to get up. They got a fresh stack for you right there. You don't got to go to the cage. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to get a ticket. You don't have to wait in another late reg line and then find your table. I think that would just generate a lot more revenue for them. They'd have less employees, and people would be more likely to re-enter right there on the spot, compared to see a hour line and just say, "Oh, we'll go to the Wynn, we'll go to the Venetian, we'll go Golden Nugget. We have plenty of other options." And I'm already pretty jaded from losing. I'm not in the best mindset, but they're set in their ways. And like I said, I'm all about that efficiency. I hate waiting in lines. You only get so many minutes in life, so let's make the most of them, right?
Right. For sure. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and we thank you for giving us a little window into your life. And we hope to see you in Vegas when we're out there. We'll be out there for most of the summer, I think.
Sounds good. Let me know if we got some special tournaments at MGM. I'd love to try to defend my title. That'd be pretty sweet. Get another one of those trophies that light up with the base, 20 pounds of crystal. It's like 5 different lights color schemes too. It just keeps going. So sick. I got it on my table right now.
Oh man, that is so cool. All right,
Thanks
Jeff,
again.
it's nice to meet you, man. I know we met when we were over there, but I didn't get a chance to actually talk to you. But it was a really good interview.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys reaching out and look forward to seeing this on the internet.
All right. Thanks again.
See
Thanks,
you
Jeff.
guys.